Welcome back, episode 2 of Spurs Journal. If this is your second episode you've listened to, thank you. You're a
We
real
really
one.
appreciate it.
It's going to be a fun one today. Talking about a bunch of stuff. Going to start with probably the sexiest move of the offseason. The waiting is over. We kind of called it on last pod. LeBron is going to the Sixers. We'll talk about what we think, well, whether we like it, what the lineup's going to look like. From there, we'll move to Spurs-centric stuff as per usual. We'll talk about the offseason scandal, some excitement with Jacob Tobey. That'll be fun. We'll move on to the hiring of the new Spurs assistant coach, Billy Donovan. We'll talk about Sochan heading out west to the Trail Blazers, and then we'll wrap up discussing how much we're willing to pay for Victor Wembanyama's signature shoe. So, how's it going, Charlie? Ready to do this again?
Dude, I'm ready. I'm excited. A lot of topics I'm personally interested in.
Okay,
Specifically, the first one, I think,
Okay.
to be specific, you called it. I did not call it.
That's true.
I did not think he was going to the
In
Sixers.
fact, I listened back again, and you shut me down when I said
I
Sixers.
did. Yeah, I
here
got
we are.
it. I did not foresee that at all, especially the way Rich Paul was acting.
Yeah.
I feel like he did a whole media tour,
Yep.
kind of flaunting a lot of different things. I think I specifically said, I don't know what kind of dark magic the Sixers
Yes,
are
you
doing
did.
to pretend like they're a contender in
Yep.
this. And whatever it was, it worked because he is signed a 2-year deal, not just a
Yep.
1-year deal. And I think it's funny because hindsight is 2020, and I guess looking at it now, it does make sense. I totally thought, end of his career, you want to go to either Cleveland or Miami or team up with your longtime friend and golf partner, Steph Curry.
Yeah.
I just did not see him having. I guess it does make sense that if you're going to be playing this late in your career and you're going to be bought into the tornado of a entire NBA season,
Mm-hmm.
and you're also a great player like LeBron James, you probably want to have the best chance of winning. That's the only reason why you'd be doing it. And I guess that is why it makes total sense that he went to the Sixers, because that's probably the best place for him to be if his goal is to win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so looking at this lineup, we've got LeBron, we have Jaylen Brown, we have Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and they're deep. I mean, they've got Dean Wade, they've got Anthony Simons, Adem Bona, and Huck Porty. I don't know how much you put stock in them as backup centers, but listen, the talent is absolutely there. It is a remarkable front. We could say 5, depending on how well VJ Edgecombe plays. I don't know if a sophomore slump is coming,
Mhm.
but I mean, it's going to be the case as with every Sixers year, but even more so. We're going to be looking at how often are people playing. But
Mhm.
the craziest thing to me is that, we can trace this back to Brad Stevens of the Boston Celtics refusing to add in what Hugo Gonzalez to a Giannis trade was the domino that ended up with LeBron likely retiring as a Philadelphia 76er. I don't want to say it's too crazy because I did call it. I'm going to keep quiet. I listened to that. I didn't totally call it. I said it would probably be Heat. But I mean, this lineup, getting back to the basketball of it, this lineup, I can't wait to watch it because it is so remarkably talented. And the question is going to be, how much can LeBron play? How much can Joel Embiid play? But they've added a lot more answers to questions about availability concerns than they have in the past. So let's talk what we think they're going to look like, actual playing style. What are you excited? What are you looking for? How do you think this is going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I remember kind of doing some research about this, and I saw that Joel Embiid and Jaylen Brown and Maxey all talked to LeBron James personally. And one of the things that was the biggest headline, that apparently Joel Embiid was trying to, make it very clear that this is the healthiest summer he's had in his entire career, and his first surgery-free summer all year.
Okay.
And I think that when thinking back to the playoffs last year, that little stretch of when Embiid was
This is
healthy,
every year,
and
man.
it felt like it was like every Sixers fan was like vindicated in this really loud way, and all of
Yeah,
a sudden everybody's a Sixers fan and you've never heard of. It was super exciting, and like as a LeBron fan, I am really, really hoping that health is on this team's side.
yeah,
That's always been the case with Embiid, and therefore always been the case with the Sixers. But um, I think if you can get a healthy Embiid, a just a like where LeBron James is at right now, which is not near his prime, but he's a very solid, healthy, consistent player who's still
yep,
able to like muscle through the marathon of an entire season.
yeah,
And that plus Jalen Brown, I think like the only thing I hear about like as like a negative is how the locker room is going to be run, who's the team leader, whose
yeah.
voices are going to be kind of dominant. I'm hearing like people already make up scenarios about how VJ has to watch out now that he's a fifth option. I saw like Paul George saying like if I was his agent, I would be
Oh my
super
god,
upset right now. And it's
podcast
like
B, yeah.
there's no need to make these problems where there aren't any, but it is true that like I probably worry about the locker room the most. I don't know how
Okay,
you feel about that.
yeah. I mean, first and foremost, like with the injury concerns, I say this more so for Joel Embiid when I'm talking about like
Mhm.
the availability. LeBron's gonna miss some games. He may not play back to backs. Like that's the reality of having LeBron at like post 40-year-old LeBron. Um,
Mhm.
but LeBron is still really good at basketball.
Mhm.
And that is on all both ends of the floor. Like he initiates well, he still plays tough defense. He can play 1 through 5, honestly, at times. And so it's not really a question of is LeBron going to be able to pass and score and make an impact on the game? It's just can the Sixers play with the right kind of style that will fit
Mhm.
with the lineup that is available? So I think that LeBron is enough of a de facto leader that I worry less about the locker room dynamics because I think you kind of just have to like you gotta kiss the ring like it's Bron.
Mhm.
What are we talking
Mhm.
about?
Totally.
But when those players are all on the floor together, like this was a question last year when you had the nickname was VJ Max, which I like kind of hated it. But VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, like they run the floor. They are
Yeah.
flying up and down the floor. Embiid, that's not happening. Quite the
Mhm.
opposite. But now you bring in JB, who can absolutely pick up the pace a little bit, and you pretty much. And with LeBron, he's old, but he still can run, and he can still make the
Mhm.
right kind of passes that allow his teammates to run. So I think
Mhm.
that really the only player here that would slow down the pace at all is Embiid. And
Mhm.
so I think if they can figure out a way to keep that pace and make the right passes, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But outside, like, I think availability is just kind of like, it's almost a cop out because it's like your good players aren't there, so you won't be as good. That could
Mhm.
very well happen. The East is super tough.
Yeah.
Okay, case in point. Even if everyone is there, JB, Embiid, and LeBron, but even in some part like Tyrese Maxey, like they are ball dominant, not necessarily LeBron, but
Mhm.
is it going to be my turn, your turn, his turn offense that
Mhm.
becomes a lot easier to defend and becomes way harder to execute when, like, ideally you're making the playoffs with this team? I would think that you
Yeah.
will. Or are they going to be able to communicate enough to play as a team and create some sort of cohesive offense? It's going to be interesting to see. Like I don't know if there's a
Mhm.
definitive answer. Like we can speculate all we want in the off
Mhm.
season, but can those different all stars at different points in their career with different strengths understand how to play together? It's not very
Mhm.
insightful analysis, but I think it's hard. I think it's going to be harder than people expect.
I think it is hard, and I think that I saw some rumor that LeBron might play point guard for
Yeah.
them, which would be cool. And I think that has to do with what you were just saying about it's important to note that even with LeBron's age and like obvious decline in athleticism compared to the rest of his career, like he can maintain the pace of a game with his
Yeah.
passing ability. And I think that will be a big part of this team is leaning on LeBron's passing ability and also probably the gravity that he demands when he has the ball and
Yes.
like pairing that with like you said some super athletic capable young guys that can get down the floor
Hmm.
and you know have like a speed that is kind of hard to attain from anybody else in the league. And so I think it will be a question of, who's handling the ball, who's going to be the ball dominant player like in this offense, and then also utilizing LeBron as possibly more like a pass first guy
Yeah.
rather than option A.
Yeah. And I don't think it's going to be a question that can be answered early on in the season. I think early on in the season, we're not going to be able to see the like LeBron's going downhill, creating like with
Mhm.
backdoor cuts and JB is getting to like, it's going to
Yeah.
take a while, I think. And so that's where I'm going to take this like cop out of availability and like tie it
Hmm.
back in with the basketball fit is that these players need to be around and playing together enough to
Hmm.
understand how this offense is going to work. So I think like it's almost it hurts you twice if Embiid and LeBron aren't playing as much as they could be because one they're not on the floor. I mean, Embiid on the floor can be incredibly dominant. He's an MVP.
Hmm.
LeBron goat. That's my goat. Um, if they are off the floor, obviously you don't have that power. But if they're off the floor, they aren't understanding like where JB and where Tyrese Maxey and
Hmm.
where like VJ Edgecombe, where they like to get the ball, like what kind of play design do they like to get set up. Nick Nurse is going to have a lot harder time understanding what kind of plays he can drop, how this crazy lineup is going to be organized. So it's going to take a while. Like I think
Hmm.
it's going to be like 20 games before we get a real sense of if they've found an offensive identity. Um,
Hmm.
and if there's not one after that, I don't know. Well, I'll pause there. But
Hmm.
do you have any other thoughts on anything about the fit as the team is currently constructed?
Yeah,
Anything
I
else you
mean,
want
I
to add?
think it's another thing to think about too is, and like something that I was thinking about after the decision was made, because at first, like, my first reaction was like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And then if you really look around at like the other top contenders and the way the teams were built, like this was almost like it obviously makes the most sense for like
Yeah.
where LeBron is at in his career. And I think that when you look at the scope of the Eastern Conference right now, it's kind of something that we were talking about last podcast, which is like it is super competitive and it is kind of a bloodbath right now, it seems.
Yeah.
I think that teams are watching the way the New York Knicks just kind of walked every single team down in the Eastern Conference, like, and reassessing what they need to be doing. And so I think I think it'll be like you said, like a little bit of a grace period, probably 20 games or so, figuring out what this is, what this offense looks like, what the team identity looks like. And I think the one thing I will say is that even like despite what their regular season performance looks like, I have a feeling that this will be a team that rises in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, once again, availability, like who's healthy at the right time.
Hmm.
And we'll do maybe next time we talk, we can do like a more comprehensive recap of where everybody is because
Hmm.
so many new faces and so many new places.
Yeah.
But that ties in well, I think, to the other question that I've seen brought up a lot with this trade, or not trade, is with this signing, is the question of an Embiid trade. Um,
Mm.
do you make a move now to use LeBron as this veteran bridge, as this still outstanding basketball presence with the next era
Hmm.
of Tyrese Maxey, of VJ Edgecombe, of Jaylen Brown now, and get what you can for Embiid. Now, this is interesting because the Embiid trade value is the question, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think I kind of have a sneaking suspicion that a decision may have already been, if there is good rational thinking in a team that has not like had a title in like a billion years, I think, or something. Um, like I think you kind of have to make that decision right now because
Hmm.
realistically, Embiid's trade value, like people know what he is in terms of an injury risk,
Hmm.
and huge money sitting on the books for a player that's not going to be available is not attractive. And so
Hmm.
I don't know if it can get any worse right now, but it could
Hmm.
get a little better. It could get a little better if he's playing
Yeah.
and he's playing well. Now, then if he's playing well, are the Sixers going to want to move off? And this is like the constant like conundrum with
Hmm.
rehabbing trade value. We kind of
Yeah.
touched on it with Fox last time we talked,
Hmm.
but like before you trade, if you want to trade Embiid, which I don't think is a bad idea, I'd consider it if a team was willing to take a flyer on a really injured player.
Hmm.
If you're willing to part with this player, you need him to perform well. Now, I could see a scenario, and when we're talking about these styles of offenses, if there's a your turn, my turn offense that's very ISO heavy and it clearly is not working, but Embiid is
Hmm.
playing well and looks like a good version of himself, maybe that's
Hmm.
a way his trade value could be improved. He could be
Hmm.
traded and it could be done without actively hurting the team. But I just
Yeah.
think the 76ers are going to be, I mean, this is a really great problem to have, kind of, because it's still
Hmm.
related to injury and roster construction. But I think it's a really interesting question as to whether the right move is to use these two incredible signings. Like got super lucky getting Jaylen Brown. Honestly, for free. They might have even gotten paid because of the picks
Yeah.
associated with Paul George's contract. And
Hmm.
then LeBron deciding to go because of that contract. Like, I don't, I think it's at least smart. You need to at least have the conversation of like, is it time we figure out a way to make this move happen? I don't know.
Yeah, it's super interesting to think about because it is the first thing I think about, like you said, is what even is Embiid's trade value right now, and I think that's a hard package for most of the rest of the NBA. I would
Yeah.
say, unless you're like damning him to like the
I mean,
Pelicans. Like it's
maybe the Sixers,
like
that we don't know about are already like completely out on his health and
hmm.
availability and are willing to just basically dump him. I
Yeah.
mean, that could be the case if they're playing well enough without his availability and they're like, we just need to get this money off the books, give us a little flexibility. I don't know.
Yeah. I will say they are in a very interesting time where it's like they have this young, exciting core, and they also kind of just like won the lottery this offseason with
Yeah.
two very like two superstar players that can get it done, and they're kind of in their prime right now. And so it's like you have this like these two identities of like this really young exciting core, how do we build around them, and then this like, oh my god, we just got you know Jaylen Brown and LeBron, like is it win now, how do we juggle this? And I think it's gonna probably be a frantic beginning of the season. Like it's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of trying to figure out, are we like in win now, or is like LeBron going to be the mentor for this team that hopefully wins in 4 years?
Yeah.
And
It's going to be
so
exciting. It's going to be
yeah,
like
it's going to be fun.
either way it goes. I think like the bottom line for all of this, like crazy high ceiling, valid
Hmm.
conversations for the best starting five in the NBA at the moment.
Hmm.
I respect the argument, but also the floor for this team, the bottom could drop out at any moment.
Yeah.
Like we say it every year and it's never really happened, but it's still like LeBron is like old as hell. He could
Hmm.
explode. Embiid probably will explode at some point. Um,
Hmm.
and there's still a good team around him after that, but like, things could get dicey. A lot of things could
Yeah.
happen and then the East could remain. Maybe they're not even that bad, but just the
Hmm.
East is the upside on the other teams It's
Yeah.
like I'm so curious. I wonder what like I'm anti-sports betting, as I know you are too, Charlie. I'm remarkably anti-sports betting. It's a scourge on any professional sport. It's disgusting. Never sports
Yeah.
bet. But I am curious at what like the line is set, the over under for this season, for people who crowdsource all this information, like
Well,
the win total.
for NBA championship, I'm pretty sure they bumped up to like number 4, like highest
Wow.
odds.
Okay.
Spurs and Thunder keep going
Spurs,
back and forth on who's number
Spurs
1.
Thunder Knicks.
I don't even think the Knicks. I think the Knicks might be 5. They might be 3. They might be
Okay.
3.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it would be yeah, it's going to be a very interesting experiment, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's every time LeBron's gone somewhere, it's always been like that. Like this would
Yeah.
be a very high ceiling, very low floor, and that's just what happens when a team is built around star power and not a slowly built thing rooted in like the actual organization. And
Yep.
so I'm excited to see it. I think
Me too.
I can now, looking back, the professionals, the Eliases of the world were correct.
That's right.
This is the best decision for LeBron, and so I'm happy with it.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me as always. Okay, should we move on? Move on to something a little less basketball X's and O's focused, but deserves a conversation. Um, I'll give a little rundown of what
Yeah.
happened. Charlie, you can fill in if I miss anything. So I'm sure most people listening to the podcast remember Jacob Tobey took over as the play-by-play guy, I guess not color commentator, play-by-play guy on the Spurs broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Really, honestly, it seems like he took to the city, took to the fans,
Like
took to
in
the
such
players.
a great way.
But yes, in such a great way. I really enjoyed having him on the broadcast. I think it was a lot of fun, and you'll notice those past tense verbs there because earlier this summer, if you're a social media user and you were up at 4 a.m., you may have seen some posts on Jacob Tobey's story. Long story short, Jacob Tobey was not a married man, but had a long time partner, girlfriend sounds like, that he was being unfaithful with none other than Lindy Waters' sister. Kind of a boneheaded move, if you ask me. Mind you, this was about okay, I'm just gonna come out and say it right now. We'll wipe away any of the questions. I think that is not cool to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
So just want to get that out there. But this happened 2 days or 1 day after Jacob Tobey signed a contract, an long-term extension with this. He signed it on the golf course with Sean Elliott.
God. It was super viral. It was so wholesome. It was like signed the extension. It was like someone wrote a script for this. It was crazy.
It was beautiful. The beautiful Alamo Quarry golf course. And less than, I don't know, pretty quick turnaround. Jacob Tobey has been fired. I haven't heard anything else. I don't know how much analyzing there is to do about it. I guess we could talk about if you would fire him, if I would fire him. Yeah. I mean, everyone here who's a listener, Charlie, the listeners know, I'm very against cheating, as I said earlier.
Uh-huh.
So that just doesn't sit right with me. But in all seriousness, you can't really be involved with any of the players. Wouldn't even be surprised if there was something like in the contract somewhere, especially after Tony Parker of years past. But I mean, it's probably the right call. I'll shut up and let Charlie give his take, but I'll just say it's gonna suck. I liked him. I thought he was good. Like I really at first I was a little unsure because of the Mama Wembanyama like just could never be topped. But I don't know. It's gonna be weird. Hopefully they get somebody good. He'll have a job, but I don't know.
So that's what I'm curious to see is what the replacement is, because he was so fortunate of the timing of when he came in and how he was like kind of the young gun and like new kid on the block and with like kind of a Spurs legend as his partner. And he kind of like personified exactly I feel like what the team identity felt like. It was like this kind of new, young, surprising, fresh faces that like, pleasantly surprised you. And he was super bought in to San Antonio. It was like, and that's my biggest like thing I'm bummed about is like,
Yeah.
I mean, he was so aware that like he got in at the best time possible, like right when things started to get exciting again, kind of rode the entire high of last season with the finals run. And it just seemed like he was all of a sudden a perfect fit and he was
Yep.
so content with San Antonio. I think that's the only thing San Antonians want to feel like is that, people love the city and are
Yeah.
happy with it and want to, stay with it and be loyal to it. And so yeah, it's huge bummer to see it happen.
Yeah. Huge bummer.
Um, but at the end of the day, it's like what other option did the Spurs front office
Yeah.
have? It's like you
Exactly.
can't. I mean, even if it wasn't a player's sister, that would still be it would still be something that like the front office has to sit down and consider. But the fact
Yeah.
that it was such a breach of so many workplace, relationships, it's and like in such a public way too. Um,
Yeah. I mean, so I think this is the last crack I'll make at him. But
yeah,
so you said he was kind of like the young fresh face fit the vibe of
yeah.
this team. I guess we can confidently say that Jacob Tovey was along. If you're giving a player comp, maybe a Josh Primo. Um,
Maybe,
maybe. But no,
that's
that was
yes,
my last
yes.
one. That was my last one. In all honesty,
Josh
like
Primo, Shanghai Sharks legendary
start
point
learning
guard.
Chinese, buddy. In all seriousness, that sucks. Like that sucks, and it sucks that he had to be kind of like dragged through the mud publicly. Like he
Hmm.
messed up. Like, I feel for him though that this is like that like Charlie and Elias of Spurs Journal are now talking about him. But like he'll be fine.
He'll
I'm
be
sure
okay.
he's
He's
getting.
gonna
I,
land
I
another.
saw he's already getting interest or something. He's going to land another one. He'll be great.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm excited to see who comes next. I mean, I don't really. There's not really a lot of like. You can't really poach another. It's going to be someone else up and coming. There's this like guy on TikTok who commentates Clippers games. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he'd be cool.
I
But
see him. Yeah.
yeah, I don't
It's
know.
it's gonna be someone, right? He was a meteorologist before this in
Really?
Denver. Yes.
Wow.
So it could
Okay.
be anybody.
It
It
could
could
be
be
anybody.
us. Could be.
It could be us. Yeah, I would like to say formally right now if I need to quit my job. Well, my job's not listening. If I need to quit my job because the Spurs want me to become their color commentator or play-by-play, whatever, either one. If Sean wants to take a step back, I'll do it. That's
I'm
cool.
there.
I'm
We're
there.
there. We're there.
Okay, swerving back to more real
Yes.
basketball
Yes.
talk. We didn't talk with it. We skipped over this, I guess, last time. Probably should have talked about it.
Hmm.
But the Spurs have hired a new lead assistant coach, none other than Billy
Hmm.
Donovan, former head coach of the Chicago Bulls, replacing the Sean Sweeney sized hole sitting next to Mitch Johnson.
Hmm.
Um, I'll leave it there. I'll let you give your
Yeah.
thoughts. I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Well, first off, we gotta mention how huge Sean was for us,
Yep.
and that was I remember like beginning like right when we got him. That was like it was like middle of the off season, and my dad and me were just talking about like this is going to be one of those things that's going to be so important to whatever this team does. When you have a defensive minded coach like that, and all these defensive minded players together, obviously they're going to create something special, and he was so great for us. It was awesome. He was
Yeah.
a huge part of our success, and so super happy for him that he is able to now. You know, I'm sure this is the dream of his to be a lead coach. It's for Orlando, I believe, and
Hmm.
that's an exciting place to be. And so, good luck to him. Happy for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, huge hole in our coaching staff, and I think that it felt like our defense sometimes was like the only thing that like we had
Yeah.
really really dialed in. It's like offensively we were kind of messy at times and didn't really have an identity going for parts of the season, but defensively I felt like we were
Yep.
very sound. And it's not like that's going to completely disappear without him. But all that being said, um, I'm also super excited about Billy Donovan, and I have to think that like some Spurs veterans or front office veterans were a part of this in some way because for such a veteran experienced coach to give up his head coaching position to be an assistant coach is a huge deal. And
Yeah.
it shows, a few things. It probably shows what he sees in the team, and it also shows like what he wants out of this part of his career. And I assume they're both winning championships,
Yep.
and so it's a huge uplift for the coaching staff and for the entire system to have someone who could have done greater things, had a better position for themselves, come in and buy into this program where we're at right now. And I think that it's a great move. I think the biggest thing everybody talks about that we lack on every front is experience. A very new coach, a very new roster, like the youngest roster in finals history or second youngest in finals history. I think this is such a great pickup. I think a coach that's a winning coach and has won on every level and
Yep.
been all around the league, been in college and seen all different kinds of play is exactly what we need right now to
Totally.
be kind of a grounding force and feel like, that we're not just kind of fish flopping out of water.
Yep. Yep.
I think it's going to be great.
I completely agree with everything you said. Particularly, giving Sean Sweeney his flowers. Like, man, he was absolutely key. And I think you're like the defense was our
Hmm.
calling card this year. And I think
Hmm.
to his credit, like, so you said this, like we established a defensive identity. That was who we
Hmm.
are. You weren't going to score on us. Like you were not
Hmm.
going, we were going to shut you down with wing defenders. And when Wemby was at the rim, it just was not happening. And
Yeah.
so cool to see. And so cool to see this young team buy into that. And I
Hmm.
think what Sean Sweeney, well, he wasn't brought here to do this. Like, obviously, it would have been awesome if he stayed, but
Hmm.
he achieved his goal in establishing that defensive identity. And like you
Totally.
said, what we saw as the season came down the stretch is that we looked a little flat footed at times on
Hmm.
offense. We looked like we weren't sure what to do with the ball. I mean, even De'Aaron Fox like looked at
Yeah.
times like he didn't exactly have the type of guidance, and I can't remember the specific instances, but there were moments where there were pretty like people always commented on coaching, and I'll never pretend to know more than an NBA coach. But there were
Hmm.
some things that I saw people say about just some small mistakes that Mitch Johnson had made, not like
Yeah.
questioning his lineups, but like questions about like timeouts and
Hmm.
like technical rules,
Rotations.
yeah, rotations, things
Yes.
like that. And so, with all that said, Billy Donovan is a fantastic coach. Like you said, he's won 2 titles at Florida, coached on the Thunder, coached the Bulls, super experienced. And what Billy Donovan, from what I read, is what he does really well is he's a great play designer and he's a really good communicator.
Hmm.
And the questions of dynamic roster construction or any type of individual player development, that's not his strong suit. And so I think that is exactly, like you're saying, exactly what will help us this season. Like that's the next step we have to take. Players have bought in with their development. The system knows these players the best, what they need to grow. And what
Hmm.
we needed as the season came to an end was we needed a veteran problem solver. We needed
Hmm.
someone who was the right hand man who was even more just as experienced or comfortable with the pressure as the head coach is for the
Hmm.
team. And I think that's exactly what Billy Donovan could be. And I want to say, like, to the point about Sean Sweeney leaving, and now Billy Donovan giving up his head coaching spot to come to San Antonio, like this is going to be the new norm for
Hmm.
Spurs assistant coaches. Like
Yeah.
you can come here and you can coach in a system that is excellent and will win, and you will get
Hmm.
looked at for a head coaching job. So this is
Totally.
not the first like Sean Sweeney, Billy Donovan, name X coach we'll see.
Hmm.
And like I can't I wish I could remember his name, but like the guy who got the absolutely BS deal with the Blazers, who was the Timberwolves assistant coach. Like
Yeah.
guys like that. Let's say
Mhm.
Wolves don't have Blazers don't have a great season. Like I could see
Mhm.
someone like that coming to San Antonio. So I think this is a
Mhm.
pattern we're probably going to have to get used to, for better or for worse.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, about like playmaking and being a coach that's kind of oriented around that. I think that's great to hear because especially in the finals, but it wasn't just the finals. I think it could be categorized as like in any moment where we were either too exhausted or too overwhelmed for whatever reason to run plays or sets that we had. There was no like offensively, there's no thing that we could default to that just felt
Yep.
very usable and like you don't even have to think about it and it is your go-to. It's like it felt like we didn't have that. It felt like we just had so much talent and we were able to just kind of muscle through those moments as like a young and hungry team. But I think it's really exciting to hear about, like new coach like this who's going to help ease some of those problems and help us kind of get some sort of default or identity that we can lean on offensively, when things aren't going our way or when you don't have the time or energy or space to be thinking about them.
Yeah, and I mean he has all of the tools that he needs to draw. I
Hmm.
mean, like you are giving a coach an all-star point guard a difficult decision in who to play at the wing, incredible backup
Hmm.
point guards, a brand new weapon that stretches the floor and can defend the four, and
Hmm.
the player with the ceiling who is greatest of all time. So like
Yes.
in terms of creativity and being allowed to not only create the type of play designs that
Hmm.
the Spurs can go back to, like you're saying, when nothing else is working, but also getting creative. The ATOs, the single things that you want to draw up when you need like the shot clock's going down or like end of game situations. Like
Hmm.
I am expecting an improvement there. I think there were quite a
Definitely.
few times, like late close games, where
Yeah.
there was some frustration with the
Let's
shot
just check up a
selection.
shot,
Yep, get to the mid range and get a fine shot. But there wasn't a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
There wasn't that type of play design, and so I think we'll see that. And
It
that's
was a lot of like just kind of sitting around and all right, we're just going to wait for the clock to wind down and then we're going to
yep.
take the last shot and we're not going to even try to run something to make it easier on us. We're just going
And
to like
maybe
make it
yeah,
harder for
to your point,
ourselves.
like I don't know if this is Mr. Johnson's philosophy, but like two for ones. We just
Yes.
didn't really do two for ones at all. And I think
Mm.
part of that, like maybe you don't believe in it because you just want to get one
Mm.
really good shot, sure. But I think part of that could be we are not confident enough in the sets that we have
Yes.
to get something quick. Like our two for one is going to be chucking up a 38 footer, like we did in game one of
Yeah.
the Western Conference Finals. Like that's not going to
And
work most of the time.
and that's what it's like. That was the part of like where people talk about inexperience and like how young a team is. Like I could see all the way from my TV. I could see exactly when the switch happened. It was like, all right, they blew up the play. Like, screw it. I'm just gonna take the shot. And you could
Yeah.
tell 10
Yep.
seconds before it
Yep.
happened because it was so obvious. And I think that's just, having an identity as a team, having, this kind of developed relationship with your teammates and with your coaching staff and
Yeah.
understanding what is it that you're gonna go to and get every time if
Yep.
everything else is failing. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I think it'll be cool. I think we'll see the
Hmm.
effects pretty quickly. I'm excited to hear. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of like good eats on Twitter of like today Billy Donovan had a glass of wine with Wemby and they met in
Yeah.
Kapop. I'll make it
Did you
my
see
wallpaper
they're
like
all
it.
in Paris right now?
Yes, I did. So
Yeah.
cute.
Super super sick.
So
They beat
awesome.
Luca to it.
Yeah, so sick invite, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Okay, next up, a couple more quick hitters.
Hmm.
Familiar face, Jeremy Sohan,
Hmm.
who did not have a contract, did not have a team, signed a 1-year deal with the
Hmm.
Portland Trailblazers, a team that is kind of in a weird spot right now, both
Yeah.
with politics around the team, where the team is located, but all the way down to the roster.
Yeah. Where
But
the
if
team
you
is located.
but if you
Yeah.
boil it down, quite simply, this team fits the type of identity he brings. That can be good and bad. He's a defensive first guy. He's not going to help with their shooting woes that helped them
Mm-hmm.
lose to the Spurs in 5. He is going to fit their defensive identity, their absolute shutdown wing defense. But overall, like I would just say, I'm happy for him. He didn't get any breathing time on the Knicks. Cool that he won. But we're going to see a lot more of him because I think he'll get a little bit more, not necessarily a rotation lock, but there's a path for him to fight for some minutes on the Blazers.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see him, and that's cool. And I know he's like best friends with City Sissoko. So it's cool that they get to hang out again.
Totally. And I'm sure, I don't know, maybe that's a part of it. I feel like that has a little thing to do with it. But that being said, I'm happy for him. I feel like, Sochan was kind of the sacrifice that you just did not want to have to make, but had to.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I loved him and I love the energy he brought to our team. And I know that I'm sure he's missing that and wants to, continue to be that player, that kind of guy that's going to stand up and join the fight, be the first one to throw a punch if he needs to, kind of set the tone and kind of be like a defining presence, like amongst like other teammates and their chemistry. And I will say, like, the Trailblazers are, it's interesting. It feels like everything's kind of moving for them right now. Signings, a
Location
new owner,
of the
new
team.
coach. It feels like everything's kind of up in the air. But I will say they have a lot of great pieces and a lot of components that have higher ceilings than I think people are giving them credit for. So this could be an exciting place. I really hope that he gets a little bit more of a role than he got on the Knicks or at least the Spurs even. And I always think back to the story that came out when he was, I think, like first or second year with the Spurs about Pop, just kind of talking to him and be like, you can be defensive, you can be physical, but you need to develop a shot. You need to develop these like offensive traits that, is the only way that you can survive in this league. And, everybody talks about the whole experiment of playing him in a different position that he wasn't supposed to be playing in and argue that was the beginning of him kind of being a confused player. But it's true. I mean, there are certain things that he has to develop, and I'm hoping that he can find some time to develop those things in Portland.
I hope so too. This off season, one of my like major off season takes was like we're a Sochan shooting jump away from like being a contender, because there were some like weird flashes in like preseason and stuff. I don't remember when it was, but it's like he's making some threes. Where there were like, there's like, it's like the off-season videos of like Zion being skinny, where it's like Jeremy Sochan is in the lab and he's just
Ben
like
Simmons hitting threes,
wet from three over and over. But you're right, like it's just tough to be any type of role player when you're not a huge like rebound absorbing center if you don't have any kind of shot. And I really hope that he finds it, and I hope that Portland is a good fit for him. Portland's going to be really interesting to see. I hope he gets in a fight with Denny Avia. I hate Denny Avia.
Oh my god! I wonder how that's going to go.
Yeah, hopefully bad, but like, well, I guess hopefully good. I don't know. But yeah, wishing the best for Jeremy Sochan. Excited to see you soon. Miss you. You were great. I loved watching you. Kind of. Sometimes, most of the time, I love watching it. And last thing we got today, just kind of fun. Victor Wembanyama, multi-year extension, not only with the Spurs but with Nike basketball. This is why he can take a pay cut, ladies and gentlemen, because he's getting paid $8 trillion to be a Nike athlete. Cool logo. I don't know. You got the combo of like the V and the W and the Nike
and the alien. Face and
they're pretty good at what they do. I'm excited. They're gonna be the shoes are gonna be purchased immediately. I remember like rookie year. This is when I was still like playing pickup basketball a little bit more. So I was wearing basketball shoes more often, and I would like often go on Twitter and like refresh as if there was a live event going on, like Wemby signature shoe. Like it's got to be dropping soon. I didn't really have that sense of the timeline for this, so I'm hyped. I can't wait to buy these things, man.
Yeah,
Immediate purchase.
it's funny, like 2 weeks ago I saw this like conspiracy theory like almost video, and it was like, why does Wemby not have a signature shoe yet? And then the whole thing was like, the guy was like, I don't know. But these are like, that
Great
was
question.
a great question. I'm trying to figure out, but I don't really know. And it was like a 15-minute video. It was so stupid.
That's kind of
But
like that's what podcasting is. Like, will this team be
yeah,
good? Let's talk about how I don't know for 20
yeah,
minutes.
exactly.
It'll be good.
Literally. So I'm excited. I think it makes sense to wait a little bit. And I feel like like from what I know about him, he definitely want to be very involved in that process. And I
Yeah,
think as an NBA
true.
player, you only have so much time to do that, especially if you make a finals run and then have FIBA and
Yeah,
then right back into it the next year. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. Definitely gonna cop. Hopefully,
yep.
maybe there's like some San Antonio
Yeah,
colorways or
yeah,
something like
yeah. I
that.
like it.
Some
I
black and
like it.
white or some, I don't know. Throw an Alamo on there. I'll buy a bunch of
Done.
them.
Done. Sweet. Well, you get a little preview of some other stuff, but we've got some exciting Wemby games coming up,
Mhm.
and we've got a lot of stuff went down. The dust has kind of settled on the off season, so we'll be talking about that soon.
Mhm.
But thank you guys for listening. This was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. We're excited to keep doing this, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.